Rising up from my lowest moments to where I am now, this is what I learned, and this is what I would do differently. As you may know, it can be very difficult while you are in the midst of suffering to see clearly, to know what direction you should go, to find what path you should take. Mel Gibson once had great advice, and he said, imagine if you were dropped into the middle of the ocean. And sometimes in life we can feel this way, as if we were lost and even drowning in the sea of life. And he said, in that moment, just pick a direction and go. It's not so much important what direction you go, but that you start moving. During my psychedelic journeys, there was often a message that was repeated, that the universe would speak to me. And that message was, stop trying to find the best way to live and start living your life the best way you can. And even though this message was given to me before my lowest moments, it appears I never really knew what it meant until after. Because often when we are struggling, we're trying to find the latest tool or technique that will get us out from our hellish state. But the key to finding relief from suffering has absolutely nothing to do with the mind. Not with searching, not even with thinking, not even with finding or learning. What I see as the greatest cause of suffering in my life was created by the mind. And so it's been said, you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness in which it was created. Therefore, you can't solve the problem of suffering created by the mind with the mind. We have to go deeper. We have to get beyond the mind. Because what I have found is that suffering and the mind are synonymous. The mind separates us from God. And so hell is synonymous with separation, and union is synonymous with heaven. Union with God, union with consciousness, or separation from consciousness. Because what you find is that energy, life force, these are one and the same. It is energy that gives us life. One of the integral aspects of our energy is electricity. When we approach the problem of suffering from a biological perspective, from a more practical perspective, rather than from any kind of philosophical or spiritual understanding, that is how we get to the root of dealing with the problem. When you have a man starving on the street, you don't go and preach to him. You give him food. You relieve his suffering so he is capable of understanding what you have to say. And so when we are suffering, when we are in a deep depression, the best way to approach this problem is from a biological and practical perspective. And so think about it this way. Our brain produces electrical impulses called thoughts. Electricity is one of the major components of our overall life energy, along with blood, along with oxygen and air. And the identity in which we have taken, that is what produces our thoughts. That is what causes our mind to be focused on certain things in certain directions. And so, for instance, if I have developed a negative self-identity, a negative self-portrait of myself, this is going to constantly produce negative thoughts, negative judgments. I am going to live in a reality, a paradigm that is almost completely negative. And sprinkled about my life will be glimpses of happiness, always fleeting, never lasting. And so if I have a negative self-identity, I am producing negative thoughts all the time. I am likely always ruminating on the negative thoughts, and physiologically, this is using up a large amount of the life force within us, our energy. And the more and more we're producing thoughts, the more and more tired our brain gets, the more and more entropy that is introduced. And so our brain becomes less and less able to function optimally. Our brain becomes less and less able to allow the free flow of energy, whether that be electricity, whether that be blood and oxygen. And so it becomes more and more difficult for us to think. It becomes more difficult for us to see clearly. And not only this, but with each negative thought, there is often a negative emotion that accompanies these thoughts. And emotions are biochemical reactions in our body. And that stress, that cortisol, it keeps us in a fight or flight state. Using all of our body's resources, all of our life energy on short-term survival. But the problem, the threat, is not in the external world, it's in our minds. And so the more we get caught in this perpetual state of fight or flight, the more all of our life force, our energy is going to be used and siphoned, but basically thrown away, wasted. Those negative emotions that we feel have physical effects on our body, on the different organs. People who are always angry or hateful or resentful, I guarantee you, are far more likely to have a heart attack. People don't realize that trauma is one of the greatest causes of disease, because information from traumatic experiences gets stored in our body. That is how our body helps us to adapt and survive, even though sometimes accidentally it can kill us. And the more and more negative emotions we experience, the more and more negative information we store in our body, the more and more difficult it is for the life force within us to flow freely. The flow of life energy is what makes us feel alive. It's common sense. The more life energy we have within us, the more we will feel alive. The more we feel alive, the better we feel. The more energy we have, the more lively we are. And so too, when the life force is unable to flow freely within us, where life is not, death is. And so the less life force we have within us, the more we will feel like death, the more we will suffer, the more we will be depressed. This was the whole point. When we're always thinking about negative thoughts, our brain is sucking up all of our life energy. When we have large amounts of trauma in our body, constricting different areas, the life force is less easily able to flow through those areas. We can even expand this to include things like smoking or drinking or addictions, self-destructive behavior. If I'm smoking cigarettes all the time, I'm causing damage and entropy to my lungs. Therefore, my lungs' ability to absorb the life energy of air and oxygen becomes less and less efficient. I become more and more tired and exhausted. If I'm drinking all the time large amounts of alcohol, my liver becomes more and more taxed. It becomes more and more unable to do its job. And so the life force is unable to flow freely through it. And so the key to overcoming any low state, any depression, when you are in hell, it comes down to simply stopping the energy leakages and then engaging in the actions and the thoughts that produce more energy, engaging in positive action and positive thoughts, having more positive emotions. And the source of this is developing a positive self-identity That is the only difference between somebody who's happy and successful and somebody who's a failure and miserable. It all comes down to the identity that they have. And anybody has the opportunity to become anybody who they want. Because reality is created first in the mind, not in the external world. So you have the power within you to create any reality you desire. But because you might not have the belief, you might not believe in yourself, you might not believe you're capable of achieving something great, it's only because you have a limiting identity. If you believe that anything's possible, if you believe that you can do anything, then you will begin seeing opportunities everywhere to create the life of your dreams. So if you feel depressed, if you feel like you're in hell, if you're suffering all the time, it is because you have a negative self-identity that is causing you to focus on the wrong things. And with each step, with each negative thought, with each negative emotion that influences each negative action, your life energy is being pulled away from you. It's being siphoned. And each and every day in which your life energy is being taken from you, you will fall into a deeper and more depressed, hellish state. And the more you can begin keeping your life energy, taking your attention away from those things that do not serve you, engaging in the actions and habits that give you energy rather than take it away from you. When you start eating slightly better, when you start stretching, getting sun in the morning, grounding your body to the earth, doing a bit of exercise, doing some deep breathing, now you understand that the more you can allow the life energy to flow freely through you, the more alive and better you will feel. But this requires a deep sense of awareness, an awareness of where you are allowing your energy to be leaked from. Understand that there are 3 types of actions, 3 types of experiences: negative experiences, positive experiences, and neutral experiences. Negative experiences, negative things will always take more energy than you give, so you will always come out net negative. Neutral activities or things make no difference, and positive activities, positive thoughts, positive actions, positive emotions will always give you more energy than it takes to produce. And so you will know whether or not an activity, a thought, an emotion, an action is negative or positive based on how it makes you feel afterwards. So you have to be aware and develop your emotional guidance system. If you eat a food and you feel more tired afterwards, if you feel more sick, if you feel worse, then clearly that food stole your energy rather than gave you much energy in return. If you feel more alive after you eat, that food gave you more energy. If you have a thought, based on how that thought makes you feel, it will either be negative or positive. This is very simple, but it's very foundational and very important. Every action that you take will have a negative, a neutral, or a positive tone to it. And so the best way to become more aware is just simply be more aware of how you feel on a daily basis, and then look back at whatever did I just engage in, whatever thought did I just have. And the more you bring these things to your awareness, the more you will be able to change them naturally. But if you are not aware of how your energy is being leaked, being siphoned, then it's easy to be stuck in these hellish states forever. And so it all begins 1% at a time, one step at a time. Simply remain in the present moment and put one foot in front of the other. I think deep down you likely already know what to do. But make it easy for yourself. Make it easy to do the habits and the actions and the behaviors that you know you need to do. But to make this as simple as I can, focus on allowing the life energy to flow freely through you. Do deep breathing. Do exercise. Allow your heartbeat to rise and pump blood throughout your body. Do meditation so that you're not always ruminating on thoughts, so that your brain isn't always using so much electricity. Slowly, one by one, stop all the self-destructive behaviors that you know are killing you. See the ways in which you are taxing your organs and your body more than necessary. Start with the easiest ones first. Don't try and go and tackle your most difficult problem or addiction. Like I've said before, sometimes we just simply aren't powerful enough. Sometimes we have this great demon that we have to overcome, but we haven't trained enough to even come close to being able to defeat it. So you have to train on the smaller demons, overcome them, gain more confidence in yourself, develop a more positive self-identity, so that you have the confidence, so that you have the strength and the power to overcome the more mighty demon. Step by step, the more life energy you reserve, the more life energy you cultivate, you become more and more powerful. And each step of the way, you will get confidence, you will get encouragement. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether or not you believe you're far behind, whether or not you believe you should be doing more, or that you should be further along in life. Pay attention to how your identity is sabotaging yourself. These are just limiting beliefs, they're just thoughts, they don't have to be believed in. But because we believe in the thoughts and we feed them our energy, we perpetuate them, and so they continue to steal our energy. They continue to make us feel negative. It doesn't matter what the external circumstances seem to be. If your external circumstances are negative, and you choose to continue to focus on the fact that your life is negative, then all you will do is continue to reinforce that reality. You can either accept and recognize that it's negative and then start doing things to change that, or you can just continue to focus on the reality that you do desire. If you fall to addiction, or you relapse, or you fall to self-destructive behavior, if you fall to a downward spiral, as you're going through that, take the time to reflect, but remain neutral, remain non-attached, and continue making your way forward. Continue focusing your energy and your attention on the habits, the actions, the thoughts, the emotions that will get you to where you want to go. So what if you fell down? These are the things that are going to happen in life, and often they are unavoidable. But recognize that this is not the life that you want to live. First, you must actually have a dream, paint a picture of a reality that you do want. Who do you want to become? And then, like a pit bull with a bone, just don't let go. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Day by day, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much the struggle is, as long as you can make 1% improvements, then eventually you will begin gaining momentum and momentum and momentum. And before you know it, you will be living a life so far beyond what you could have imagined. And not only that, but the contrast that will be experienced will make this great new life that much better. Because we can only appreciate the light when we experience the darkness. We appreciate the warmth when we know what it's like to be cold. So when you're in hell, when you're suffering, there's no need to even see these things as negative. You have the power to at least neutralize any negative experience. Because logically, you can realize that this is exactly what is needed to pave the way to these higher states of being. This is exactly what I need to develop the character I need to become. Once you accept that life is the most difficult thing that you'll ever have to do, then you expect the hard times, the difficulties. It was designed to be this way, so that when we heal ourselves and we rise up, we can give a helping hand to those who might not make it, who might not be strong enough. When we heal the problems in ourselves, we heal the same things in others. So your time in hell is not a curse. This is your origin story.